Premo ato eha UTV so ye Falls Abeka Junction enkran adishima yemamu nyina makwaba eyo memu ne amanone nsem ne bre aso yato ye bo ase aboaboa no amasemufo aso ne so amayen ye de esom se prem to bre kase this with chocolate drink yo here enso share have a special ice ensupa and a special drinks and kita emu a ye de agopama so de beka ensem ahoro bi ho ye de nyina amaw se kase e odon hwe ba ko entem yenhwe ensem a wo ba betie ni ebie Omampanya be de eche e de ato dwa se abibi man empanyufo enyina wo mona so brane enye adwuma se de be ya ewiase nyina be hu se ampa abibi man ejina ne nan so na eba ne enwuma ene akade ahoro nyina mu nso a watumi apebie aguo e de ama emabuno Health Director and Impanyufo kuku da bebrena de nsem bia tudwa ama Registered Nurses Midwives Association so akasa wo che eba ne enuru ede so enkoda enuma e wo se empanyufo ehwe e ma wani eku hu papa e wo Ghana afanan enyina na enkran mantam nso no oman agyeman wo mo de adesede e tudwa se eba na hodidie hu nsem a wo mo de ne wo fom enema nkoyie kwa empanyufo emrem na wonhwe e ma wo mo amanone ensem emuno wiase nyina apomuden asoeye World Health Organization say COVID ya ehu no fianfia ase ekwa ase enko no COVID ne bekopa bia ebetumi akowura 2022 wey ani ensem ahoro bebre na oka me ho a mekenkan ede amao okenkan for eyemme obahima Afia yentie ensem no enchirebo Amampanyin na nado danko akufuado ene one Ghana fo nyina akasa ebra one Kwame Sefa kan chairman general Asia atwetwe nkomo okokoko dwumadie so Peace FM ene anopei na enkomo twetwe mu no na chairman eba bebisa se wanya ne ntie se ohempo pra wono ewo from mantam emo obomoden a ede ababetu dwa se dwumadie bebre na omampanyin dada John Mahama ehya ase no eyade a ono omampanyin na nado danko akufuado wato na jeje mu enti kura togbe amenya fiti out so enum ede ensem bia tudwa a wo kire omampanyin se oman na otwemienu e-blocks project ni nyina onhwe so obetumi wie ede ama wo na eno oje ne sei eno na omampanyin se ogusu a etu ho na mo nenso so ohwene ne hwe na eche na openentem dia ono ankasa ebetumi aye.
The allegation that we have abandoned the road projects that we came to head is difficult.
How about the e-blocks?
Many of them. I think I'll find an opportunity to send you that many of them are being worked on across the country.
Let me just take one, Mr. President. The one in Afia where the chief himself has complained. Ohine wa Afia patch say e-block no oba yenya hwehwe. Inti my education minister up to February say ombe yen hu bibi. It's an say
no minister ultimatum.
So also abre
I don't go here.
Inti obisa no there na catch every out of frustration e be okasa.
When biaso no yeah boaboa ye ho ni aye. As much as possible. I've given you these examples to let you see that, on the contrary, despite the propaganda, because one of the things that I suspect there's a deficit on our part is our ability to counter the propaganda. The propaganda takes over the reality of so many aspects of our national life. It's a pity, but we'll continue.
Omampanyin na nado danko akufuado se omanfo nso omokeka se han na ben ama omani sika se maye dendenden na basa enema enkoyie no o se otiti bibisa na ene ngongo pa o esanse na Ghana sika sem ekoyie ansa na COVID-19 eba enti eni nyina akra echi no enema eguso nkakran nti so omanfo nkeka sa na chese ne ho kra adwie no
I'm going to do a hotel. One wanting a year and now was soon I those who are saying this, even the simple arithmetic, Midday, 2017, the last year of the predecessor government, rate of growth of the economy, 3.4%, the lowest in over 20 years. Our first year, rate of growth was over 8%. Second year, 7%. Third year, 6 point something on the average. The growth rate of the economy between 2017 and 2020, the onset of COVID, was 7%. A 7% economic growth made us one of the fastest growing economies in the world, not just on the African continent, but across the globe. All what the economists, when they find it's laughable, so-called macroeconomic data, all of them have pointed in a much more positive manner, bias in what they were there before. Inflation came down from nearly 16% to single digit, and it is now just crept over 10%.
Yes.
Interest rates, 32% Today, they're hovering around up 20%. Peace FM. Effort being made to bring them further down. Peace FM. Reserves. You had trade deficits before I came. Today, we have trade surpluses. Reserves, 2.5, barely 3 months worth of reserves. 5.5, nearly 6 months of reserves today. So there's data. I'm not saying that the data in itself tells everything, but the data, and you compare this to those who are making the accusation of poor management. Now, once again, English language, maybe I'm I'm surprised to hear some of these accusations, especially from the lips from which they come. Say, Ms. Man, it is 1 year were responsible for the 3.4% rate of growth and for the inflationary pressures that were so evident in Ghana at the time. So one in Bemu COVID betoye. And I can say by this time they're not Ghana that we have buried the country. We would have been buried by now. R.I.P. Ghana, rest in peace. It would have been broken by now. So I don't think that we should engage the Ghanaian people in this kind of unnecessary, tendentious politics of making these statements.
Yadaswa ewo mampanyi ensem no emo na wokyerese omanfo bi kika se ebro mampanyi dada John Dramani Mahama na ban ewoso no obomodia ekobie Commander Sugar Factory no ano enso obaye ontumi nye ho hwe eno ene wo se wo ka magana fo ate ase se waka dada se omampanyi dada John Dramani Mahama odika kobo nchense no so ewo abreko a foundation na se fapem no wantu enti kyese se de o hya ase na kasa na enieba enkoyi.
There's a fundamental issue which has dogged the Commander Sugar Factory, the absence of plan for supply of raw material makes it a very, very difficult project.
$24 million, he says, was there for you to pick from the Indian government. You didn't.
But why? I didn't know no one quack officer says the money was there before he left office. Why didn't he access it? The money was there before he left office. But in fact, it was going to be difficult to access the money because the factory itself that he had built had collapsed. Are you going to go and tell people you want some more money when the thing that you built is in itself on the back foot?
But you can say it had collapsed, I mean,
shutdown of a factory. How do you understand it?
Tell them some maintenance.
Immediately after you build the factory.
Well,
you bring it down it was shut down for lack of raw materials to feed the factory. And this is the point that I've been making, that the whole planning of the Commander Sugar Factory was wrong from the get-go. What we have been trying to do, what Alan Chamating has been trying to do, and it's a very valiant effort that he has made, is to try now to reconfigure the investment in such a way that he has now access also to raw material supplies from the factory.
Omampanyi se omampanyi dada John Dramani Mahama esan ho mrane se Euroget project ahoro ni nyina ono na ehya ase o se eno enye no kre na sa adwumadi ni nyina omampanyi dada John Ajekum Kufo na penso na o hya ase enti ono omampanyi na nado danko Kufuado ebaye wo mo sa kasika enche omo de bewie ni nyina.
The Eurojet project It's presented as if it was a project initiated by the Mahama government. It is not true. The Eurojet project was initiated by the Kufuor administration. Before President Kufuor left office, that whole project was had began. The question we have to ask ourselves, the 8 years of NDC rule saw no progress whatsoever on these hospitals. Whether you're talking about the East Municipal Hospital, Trifo Praso, all these ones in Soko, all the developments that have taken place in these hospitals took place in my time. They say so. The contractors say so. When these hospitals, the ones that have been commissioned, like the Upper West Regional Hospital, the East Municipal Hospital, the Trifo Praso, the Tepa, and Soko, all these hospitals, when they're completed, listen to the contractors, they'll tell you that for several years they were unable to do any work.
Even though it began under President Kufuor?
Even though it began under Kufuor. And it is in my time that the funds and the commitment have been put together to allow these projects to be completed. There's several of them. And as we're speaking now, the 250-bed regional hospital in Kumasi in Syria, I was there. That's what something like 95% complete. And the commitment that has been made is that by December, early January, the hospital is going to be... we now have a problem of the supply of the utilities to the hospital, water, the road access, electricity. But the hospital substantially, the civil works for the building of the hospital have now been complete. We have the same phenomenon in Konongo. It's a 60-bed hospital. It's virtually 95% complete as we speak. And we're looking also for that to be also completed at the end of the month. So when you're looking at all these examples, you wonder how come people have the courage to come forward to deny the reality. But then I've noticed that is the stock in trade of my opposition, dealing in facts that are not there, but screaming it so loud that the person who doesn't take care will begin to think that these must be facts. Otherwise, why are they being said? But it is also part of negative propaganda. You repeat untruth several times. Ultimately, hopefully, it will sink. It will sink.
Omampanyin na nadu danko Akufo-Addo essay osuafo baako a wo na baso e woni dwumadie mu nyina eye osuafo wo enkran mantam emo honorable Henry Court osi said opanyin atu ne ho ache na odi ahoden akokoduro eye adwuma no eso na nipa
Aprobono, so far 15 regions have been covered. 16th region, Greater Accra, and Afia, Henry Quarter, Greater Accra Regional Minister, meaning said, Udimu Akwetene Papa. Omampeni, Yempie, baby,
Henry Quarter has one, but it's a bomber and I can't phone one day.
Henry Quarter.
I think MSOBia who said, I've been Papa and I didn't know. Also doing a good job in the country.
Also now own our money yes I intend to roshi no na aya so mu ade kra no ninja no person ya adwuma foforo o say no mpe
at the beginning
and then
where are now so adjust your mind to it and get on with it, but he's proved to be an extremely strong choice and preference in adwuma wo ye no so sem says obi ehu se oba so oba be adwuma oba se oba be diagro na oba be petine man sem dem wo ye agbobusi again the relocation of the people, the let's make Accra work, an agenda making meaningful of our commitment to a clean Accra city and then the city whose public services are in order. So they are the work of a very committed regional minister. Midday who said, "Nyamikwan mehunsa Ghana for no do door one craft one year one craft do one who say amba paying yaba." Then they can say Say, one day, my papa, because I can see a bone to penny grass. I saw something. I can't get it. I can show you.
Henry, no more call Bunny. It's not just when you a Juma while you're home.
He's doing well.
Great.
Doing a good job.
Great.
Omampanyi ekasai no emu no ene wode etu dwese akukoduro ene nam ya wanya wode esom Ghana fo no eye ade bia ehyenmu wadas ho dae ne kodo so obeye ene wo ye eno nso emma na konye de bia da se omema ne ho so ana onye ne wuni se oya ma na bro so eno de enya de a ewomu.
Some improvement in living standards is taking place. I cannot explain the 500,000 vote difference between me and my main opponent, other than it being an endorsement by the people of Ghana of my stewardship. In December, 4 years after I took office, I went to the polls, and the people of Ghana returned me with a margin of over 500,000 over my predecessor. That has to be an endorsement of the policies that we have been putting in.
Doesn't that make you complacent too?
Does not make me complacent.
I'm out say Ghana for, you know.
Maybe I'm no, on the contrary. For me, I have a commitment given to me by the mandate. Say between 2017, 2021, 2025, I work flat out to address the problems of this country. I can never have a moment of complacency. That is not in my book. And I think those of you who know me a little bit will know, say, that's not the way I look at life. The complacency, the
Omampanyi di chawpa amomanfo mo emfinfin mantam emoni nyina ene se na bedi eche Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia edi kan akoho akohye omanfo ne bose aban behwe na waye fishing hub a efe na eye broni nsa no edi ama wo mo na omampanyi so kokasa na no kopaye ekoka se obehwe se ye besi landing site eye abefo nsa no edi ama wo mo eno no na ode echawpa emom se na no na efomie
I
Cape Coast. I
made a mistake. Let me just confess it. I made a mistake.
You did?
Yeah, I made a mistake. In looking at the manifesto, and I tried to do that before I go, I saw one page which talked about a landing site. I didn't go further to see. But in any event, even with the mistake, I think still we have to rethink a lot of things. We can't have a harbour in Elmina. We have a harbour in Elmina, which is being developed right now. Obviously, Takoradi, Elmina. Then we have another one projected for Cape Coast before we go further down the road. I think some rethinking has to go on for us to be able to find what is the value for money arrangements that work. But it was a mistake, and I have to apologize to the people of Cape Coast and the Central Region for that mistake. But presidents are human.
After all.
They're not Superman. They make mistakes.
Omampanyi na Ghana for gusua ebisa nse anyebia 2024 kwan bia so aba no yebeto enti omamfo mbekwa kogina ame atom so aba na futuo bɛn na wode ema wo kyerɛ se yebeto aba 2024 no de ɔhwɛ kwan se omom begina nyina no no kredie pepepeye na ebekɔso na aba no so emu atumi ada ho.
Assuming say obi ambition nti no na to say we portfolio at Tunche. About this, obviously the president cannot be unconcerned. I mean, I've been in this position before.
Yeah.
Yes, I was a minister in President Kufuor's government. Foreign minister at the time when the bell sounded for the race for his successor. I had to comport myself accordingly. As far as I'm concerned, those who are there in that situation today are also opponents. There's two issues. For me, that matter. One, that we should have a transparent, credible, acceptable process for choosing our next flag bearer. The same as I came out of such a process. It should be my responsibility to make sure that the process for choosing the next leader of the NPP is equally free of doubt or machination or manipulation. That's for me absolutely key. And I'm hoping that a level playing field that allows us to elect our next presidential candidate will also bring us a candidate who can unite our party. Because competition there could be also oh yes, and it's inevitable. It will bring some divisions in the party.
Yemfi omampanyi ensem honi enko ensem foforo emwe Ghana mampanya be de kire Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia na efutu ode emma abibiman mu mabunu ene se abibiman aye jata wo wiase amanyina emo enti emabunu no ntwantoma ensi ombo na wo mani nya den enye niema a ebemi wiase nyina hu se ampa wo mo wo ade a eye wo abibiman emo
Ghana mampanya be de kire Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia ekasa odwumadie na ase eno odi tudu ase ukopiem wo man bi ti se China, South Korea, Japan ene Malaysia gidie wonya wo mabunu mu ene mmoa wode bo mabunu no ewa disuafom no ene mabunu no anyini abeso wo man no mu ama wo man na nyina ekese se ne yehu ne nei eni se bibiman ahodo ye pese ye man no anyini ye kese na ebe ye soronko kra behwede ya ewo se yetimenya gidie soronko ewo man no mabunu mu Ghana mampanya be de kire din semo nyina tudwa wa bra na wokasa ewo 2021 Youth Connect Africa Summit course so ewo nkran dwumadie ne ti asema se kira ne se kwan abibiman ebefa so ayen sresre emfiri omaya hodo ho samria coronavirus eba fomu yi na Africa Intercontinental Free Trade ekoso no yebenya mu mfaso Youth Connect ku aye ka ho asemi ne ti ewo Kigali Rwanda mamu abibiman ahodo aduonu na 24 ana je tuma edi dwuma ewo wo man mu na mpenifo ehwe ni mu se emabu no ewo abibiman ahodo so no obefa sa ekuyi so na wadi yie ewo abrabom.
The world, particularly Africa, has the largest generation of young people in history. I place great hope in their capacity to shape the future of Africa and make Africa the lion she was meant to be. The Asian tigers, South Korea, Japan, Singapore, and Malaysia are where they are today because of the systematic investments they made in the development of their human capital. Their period of boom and growth happened when their populations shifted from ones of many dependents to ones dominated by working age groups. And this is where Africa is today. We should not fail to realize that we are at the brink of a breakthrough. With over 40% of Africa's working population between the ages of 15 and 24, Africa is the youngest continent in the world. This represents a staggering amount of human capital. And according to the African Economic Outlook, this number is set to double in 2045. Yet too many of our young people are trapped in poverty, with few opportunities to learn or earn a decent living. No one needs to tell us that mass unemployment in Africa, especially amongst her youth, is a ticking time bomb. The so-called Arab Spring showed clearly that the lack of employment opportunities can undermine social cohesion and political stability. With between 10 and 12 million youth joining the labor force every year, Africa has to pay maximum attention to job creation.
Edwedie ni emfidi dwuma so afo honorable Alan Kwadwo Chematen na wada board fofo edi ama Ghana Regional Appropriation Technology Industrial Service ha etwa ni tia friend Gratis Foundation na board no de eto anim say wo munim dia wo mo wo mfidi dwuma ehyehye mo no ebetumi abase eno yetete kwa ade wo mfa nto na abefo ko ye fa so hyehye mfidi dwuma ema oman ekonkan wo mfa eno bi enwura adwuma no na emo ama wo mo enkomkan.
Ghana Regional Appropriate Technology Industrial Service ayekom ho asemi beyan finhye duasa atwamini no 30 years na mpinifo epa hontoma se nkomo mba mbehwe na ndwuma nkuma e wo ma Ghana mu no ebeboaboa wo na wadane dane won se na be obetumi asoro gina won naso aye adwuma mu nanso beyan finhye duasa akini no botaye ntia ma mpinifo editi sa ekuyi enya ade atumi abamusa ne sa yo nti eno numanyamfo Alan Kwadwo Chematen apa wa badwokuo bi ede afisa akuyi mu se omombra mbehwe na omondane dane adwuma kuma ewo my Ghana mu sene be no obetumi aye adwuma kese mu na aban ne so de hunu industrialization agenda no ebetumi abam.
It requires an ecosystem of institutional support to make industrialization thrive. When I talk about an ecosystem, it includes the policy environment, which is fundamental and is very important. But that is a necessary condition, but not a sufficient condition. So beyond providing that appropriate policy environment, you need to have institutions of state that provide direct support to the small and medium enterprises. And that is what Gratis is about. But because of the new vision of an industrialized Ghana, we need to do a number of things to ensure that Gratis now is repositioned to fit into the new vision and the dynamics of the current times.
Board chairman of that Ghana Regional Appropriate Technology Industrial Service ano Dr. Richard Amwakuba woni ekoni managing director Kofi Ajay Intim excellence saya wodi agu akwamu na beboa ma ekono atimi asoregyina ne naso se na be na obetumi aboa fofo na aban industrialization agenda no ebetumi abam sei ene okan
industrialization na be center stage enti eho ene wosi edi ni kokesi na yetimi ma any form of industrialization biya no ye more technical support ye wo machines ebetimi dade ade ye dade de ebetimi bibia no aye ntimi nye na mum de tene say so bi ba so ope part bi ba ko pe ope untimi entwama no enti na che say wo se yetimi ni government agencies no yetimi ni omo connect na de omo hia no yetimi twa ni volume and the nature say bit my and so what's happen for Gratis to stand up.
Technology solution centers no yes no for no crowd. They have state of the art machines work capacity and engineers they be maintain the one district one factors no yes see no mamu baby and so that young fan says will be baby to say Navrongo that's our factor or that's be say here suggest or samba and can have a engineers and son or makoye. Oko Gratis Center on Navrongo ha on Behama.
Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwifery Association womo ayenhie mudiebe na woche adwene asisu hia ehia se ebrano brano wotumi ye nkyerkyere edifase ye di enuro esoso nkoda enum atia nyarewa anase ebewo wo mpane immunization no eno ho na mo a ewose mpanyefo etu.
Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwifery Association one mujumedi de share so no efa immunization advocacy initiative no no and a program director Madam Gladys Damalin ede ensem eltudwa watch say childhood immunization say ebia yeso akwada enum de abo ne ho ban ede afri ya de wabi ho anase ye bo ne pane ede akoatia ya de ebie no wose ni nyina no eboa mapomuden nsem so wonkwada afamu no etimi gina ne naso papa nya ya de mpo enko na ye to bi wo ho no mu a ebia beka so wo ku de atia akwada no e wona brabo mu nemum
Hope for future generations and in a partners are a year Social Serve Ghana, West African AIDS Foundation, Ghana Registered Midwives Association, 3 years ago no ne share sa dwumadie a ye frɛ no Immunization Advocacy Initiative ɛna ende no dwumadie no be wieye nti ye di ekuokuo nkrofo free various organizations na be shim na ye ka kyerɛ mo sɛ ye pese ye bu akunta ni ayeye ni ekɔ yie ni ankɔ yie no ye pese amanfo ehu na omutumi ebe dom ekuo no na yetumi advocate for domestic financing for immunization. Panie ne yede wo nkola no yenim se ehu hia na yenim se yan wo nkola na eya na ede ohaw bebre na ebro mu ebitumi nya polio ebitumi wu ne ehu nkeka ho na nso yehu se sika na sese yede totototo sa indrowe na yede yese dwumadie we no eya amanonifo na eboa na amanonifo no eye gavi no 2027 omo beko nenti yesro se omo kwa na se government entumi amfa sika nhemu a na chese ebe ye how amoman no nenti na ya ba ekuo no yehia na ye kai government se yesre no omfa sika nhemu.
Yeko empotamu na yede ensema ekoso no amamom na enkoso nyina wo ejeman eye na aboaje wosi obedi ade no how de omahia bi papa ewo empotamu pa na emudie eti ne nsumu eye bola aye ne mguase de amo no ene ne manfo enyina esanse wapomudi ho nsem no eda esan emo ose assembly ni titu ene MC Honorable Clement Wilkinson ene ne mpanyifo nyina se so mbetumi etu anamo bi a bola no wo metu ema wo
Sabulu hine ene ne mpanimfo committee for eto sa frame se mo pese ya mo ba me na so ene bi di ko isa nko mo kro so kwan issue na agikwan ni nyina kwasem bi na secretary George enso abom amane atwa de no video dia send me ato me WhatsApp me hwe me hu se ade no kwan na sikura akoniaba etimi nkoso kwan no so kura enti me yense me ameba na behwe Mafi mama mpani for so aso ati ye hu na mo ayebetua betima boa mapan no atom kama na akoba konyaba no atima koso kama na afo a eti sabule chara kwanta ayo ya mansie babu num nyina mo nam kwan we so no bi atima ye kama kama nti me ba nana onda roma ya ba be hu ya se bako na ye hu na mo ayesi etu na boa mapan etimi tom kama kama
no sha say be 2 months in here yedi bayre nyina na say. In fact, intimi nko market, intimi fa ene ma enko. Wa hwe bayre ye du ko ya, e pese ye de cross ko kentampo market. Eno nko na ye kwan a elidi ye ko ye district. Ti yesre Nyankopon adom e honorable DC one ye honorable ladmo panyi, omo abeduru ha de. Omo ya yemboa. Ena enye ha nko a ukohu nkwanta ene chara mfimfin ene chara nkwanta ne ayo ya mfimfin a. The same issue yi bi e wo honom. Ti yesre say mpanyifo anya beduru ha de. Omo ya yemboa. Esre mo a
Wei aye aban krachi panyin o working Tampo South e wo Bono East Mantam emo Honorable Opoku Nyame ebro kwa apro e wo ne mpotam ekwo hwe sede omanfo no bi ho aka adwam na okwa emnyeye obanso a emma esan wo bridge na ensamso bi a asai ene anamuntu assembly no ehwe se enimanimu ya obetumi atu ede ama wo mo no eho na yekwo ahensan e wo asokwa empotam e wo Asante Mantam emo omanfo no edi ya wo se ensuo to a eyirifa wo mo papa the subo ebo mpanyifo so mo gates no ni nyina emu asisi adan na wontu ho anamo
Yane ahensa de hia won ho akire won bi atwetwe nkomo no kire se contractor na adwuma na oye enam bridge nti ama omogates ne mu nyina si entinsuo to a entimi nko we na ohwe a aka ho bia ma wajapade essensa no eno nso nti omo srempanifo se wo mfa no se asemhia na enemanim ya wo nya ho bibi ansa na ensuyiri ahyase se ema enipa da sanimpo ahwere ne nkwa UTV kase boy yankasa de ani krotwe wisie kohunu bi se de na ensuo na topa yira for manfo for niema ama ade kyen nsuo na twen wo mo ne nam mu hwehwe se ebia wo niema no ebije a wo yiyi de dwuma ebeyi na de anya no apratu agu na ya ade a areho pa wo mu kyerɛkyerɛ mu sem se nam se contractor no eye adwuma na wo mo kwan bia emansuo ninti ensuo tope na eyiri nso na ebrɛdra wo mfie ni wo nnwuma mu na se wo niema nyina ensuo na eyiri no entimi nkɔ enti so mo ka bi na beyi dia ene nka contractor no wonya bridge ne ye na nka nsu to bridge twama wase frase aye said ye beya adenhye nso betimi abɔ won kwa ene wajapade ho ban
asese ne ma bebre ye books ye TV ye fridge say ne ma bebre asese de ka se ye bɔ kwampa entumi den embo nyina ti esesa ban be den ombra no be boy ne Chinese one be ka se de be yamba ya ombe ye nsu ni na e de mpuntu abre ahensan bonso mi kwase ebre pa
kwa no mo ye no wo mo sisi bridge no ti ba bia nso ne ntimi mfa ba bia de sa ha ya e na nsu yi eno ye ne ye manyina be hwe ye dem wo ye fom nyina fo etimo mo aye
stream na eda ye chiro no mo asi na plus construction na omo ye wo ho no omo block drainage no enti nsu no enya kwan empam no na ya the problems we na brain
ebetina ha dada nyina no na nsuo emba ha. But they go to a time in so year na eba compa na say enenam mfichire no but na e normal enu tina Ghana pen for decide say on ba be bridge ne say na be ya hoto be dey ebe ba bom de omo sa be kan ne dey aye west issue to still et imagine say sebi Ghana pen for ana say omo ye adwuma no omo hu bibi wa ha ntike nya bibi fa ho
tra no since 1990 ye hu bi sada since omo start adwuma we on ade we na aba no mesre obi ase mo obi amfa nye politics mo ma ye nyina ye mfa solution e betima ne ne contractor ne be kasa na etima ye adwuma contractor no so oja ye adwuma no na oyim na ensuo ne timi fam na ekọ na wotwen edu dry season no abaye na adwuma
because of that bridge na omoye no enti na ma na ibasa kuta ska almost 2000 me de agu o minim se ebeba se yo makotena ba bi kra me twa me bet me ba ye no scan 400 film go me rent so my so ne de my chest me mattress adentina wo say basa it yes 124 especially mama part ona na we MP
sabi ye ne ayanko school kra no ye nimu se ensuo to a ye ntume nya kwan enti yesra wo mo nya abotre obi abetwama na okas ene abetena nsuo mu sati say ya papa 43 years enke ye ntena ha yesra Ghana mpanyimfo mo moaye
UTV kasiebo ene assemblyman na owo ahensan ononyafo Joseph Owusu twetwe nkomo
China for ye kwan ye chiko omususu dwumadi omudi wa ha se mpeso mo ye bridge e wo yanim enu nti no mo divert nsuo nu fa ba bia ne mo hwe manimu a bridge a anka no so ye 4 channels nsuo nu to a enya kwan fa ase no omo blocking mo nsuo ni yiri mre bi ma ye nyina ne omo tena ase se ye won su tobrem nti ye besere omo a ko mu nya ne nsuo nu ti a nenso yanka bia nhima na mo sa ye de e be blocking no sere aban ne mrem na ka mo no mbeka no so benya abotra ma ya ti ye besere assembly sesika ho sesika ni ho yesere mo a ombo modin a na emeyi nsuo nim na atonsufo ne ahinsafo mo kire mo omo ahinhan omo kakra
Ejeman hene ese ono ne manfo wo mu ni ahotokra esanse ahonidie hu nsam enkoyie na efi ene bola emmene wo mpanyifo enhye ema wo moe
Abra UTV Central for ne enkoso hene a wo Ajeman na naboaje ekasa no wo kire se how bebre na Ajeman fo wonom enya ana wo mu ehia wo bebi a wonom eti free bre a wo betena konwa so wo kire se wo mu how kese ba kopa ye bola wo mu ehwe se de bola isi mene omanfo ewo ho no a adehye no ene nananom mpo eye niwudi akese ema wo mu ahwe yi a ebetimi de yade mpo enso aba enu nti wo mu de adesrede to assembly no titiru ene abankra chepanyini odumonyamfo Clement Wilkinson se wo meye bibi emfa ho so de bola kenten bi beba besiwo mato bola egumu wo mpotem wo no ebeboa enu achi wo kire se wono makwan enye ensamso a eno omanfo betimi afa so food bridge so wo mu hia bi eti wade adesrede ato emrahye bedwani a Ajeman ehye na se onumonyamfo afrifa mensa se wono so mra na omeboa se de be yampuntuo bekoso ewo empotem ho
se wudura Ajeman krema bola na abehia na se edikan na yem bola na ewo kronum no ye besre se nka amasaman asamo emeboa yen nanka yentumi enye bola ni ye kakra because bola na pine tonton eha kromu ha for about time nkola ai wo kromu ha school for ben bebia bola no wono enti ye besre wom na mmeboa yen na bola na yetimi nkata so Afia wie ne sa ye bridge a wo krom ha ebu ya che bridge ni bu ya che nanso ya bo asama na ye nti omonka ene timi amehe ni aje sana ono akasa afa contractor ama bridge ni waye batakase ye be feel bridge ni ho nanim ni nachi na bridge na timi ayeye ye wie ne sa so a ye yen ekwan a ye nam so ede ba aje man no ekwan no emwa yen ekwan no ye kwan a atete apansam ye kasa de asey a nanka ye kwan ye de ade a asey e ka kwan a ye beka se ye kwan de nkenye enti ye besre asama no ene yen MP ye wura kwasi afrifa mensa ene o mampani se wo hwe ye se yi TV de ade a o mampani ene new station a wo hwe ene ti ye besre se wote ajeman ahemfo nananom enka na eyadesrede ne de be se ye kwan no nana wo se yi away year of road nti ye besrew na be boye na ye kwan no ye ntumi nye ekwan no ye damase
wo junction no ba doke ba ajema wo ye problem agboye gen niji bola afe bola ahwe gen fe wo be bola chins ni wo ke bola wo mi wo bola bu ye jeme ehi no kono ko fe mo ke wo ache na ba chikete ke ka kusi afe ko ha na egba wo na won pa fa ko ni aba ha wo bola chins ni wo ke ma jeme ko ni ake bola wo mi oba to me ko na metana ni ke 50 pesos ke 1 cedi po collect ko ni ke bola ni e ba na ba wo bola ni wo ke ha me ko na menya me wo bola na me ko ni wo ma afe fo agbene wo bridge ko ye wo mami le won lo le jin e bridge e fite imanche boy modern ke shehe ko shi choko me ko pe ko ye kun wo won pa fai nam la lo ehun ahani ameka ba wo mi assemblyman ke MP ni obi on pa be fai na me na ame president ko na me kele ni e ba wa wo ni won yo fe bridge ne ni wo road afi because we lo le jin ye bi eni ya gan ke happy na be because of bridge e wo ke gbe e wo ame small na me ba wo ka wo ya gan wo na problem wo won pa fai ko ni abomode na ba fo na kwa
court bi akwasetena ennedai ewo enkran ekwowiase a dance hall king Charles ni ama mensa aka Shatawale one afofo miensa bi wahese omonkotwe a prison for kukum na woche not as a prison custody na woche ana court yi ahye ema yede ema wo mo ni nyina efiti adwada nwumre ensem a wono ane ne nkofo etro yede beto Twitter ni Facebook ne mia bebre se an ya bo Shatawale tuo ewo East Legon enkofoko a omoye sanso a yehu omo ama shata eji ayehwe ewa yaresabia bi no aprosifo ne omamu ni nyina yem hyehye womo ehwehwe no yaresabia hwehwe ko wiase a yehu no ye ko shata fi a yehu no afa ko wiase a na akotete ba bi wa betro bibi ewo social media ekomu yemfa nkwa yemfa mra no so de ne ho akoma aprosifo na aprosifo se emra ne fa bi oho a eye criminal se obetumi akosi fie empane ko omamu ni nyina obema womo yem hyehye womo wo chantro e wa abrekwa bibia ensiye sa no wanya dan e de afri mo enti prosi mpompo ene se court ne se omo hia se Shatawale ene ne dom no ombe hye kukum kakra se de be ya nhwehwemu na omahye ase no bibia enkotwintwa na mu na ensei ne be ma wo matumi awie eno na court ndi akwa adwundwum no se sa na te dia ene SM fans mo president Shatawale onne ne nkofo miensa no omonkoda eneduafie na woche baako na aposifo nkoso a emfanye ensem no emu nhwehwemu enti sa na shata nsensem no akwakosie empanyifo kyeremu a ombekoso a aye ensem nhwehwemu sa na aposifo eka ekopem se bibia ebewie peye anase emudie krakrakra na Ghanafo nyina ehudie etuemu de aka nyina ye de besomo ewo kasie emo